Let's just make sure the YouTube is awake and then we will begin. There it goes. Hey, Lucy, what's up? All right, there it is. There it is. We're live. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whatever it is where you're at. I hope it's amazing. I hope it's a good Monday. We're a few minutes later than typical, and that's been a common thing for me on Mondays because it's just post the weekend. And I've been sleeping in a little bit more these days. We're quarantined. What you gonna do? It is Monday, April the 20th. Oh man, it's 420. If any of you actually care about that stuff, cool, have at it. Me personally, it's just another day, and my habits with fresh greens do not change one way or the other. So yeah. Speaking of which, by the way, fresh greens, the farmers markets in my neighborhood are closed, and we're going to be talking about that because I've been thinking about this, and I'm not for it, but I'll pose the question to you guys later in the chat. So hold that thought for now. But we're gonna be getting to farmers markets later, guys. This is the new show that knows how to party. This is the like, all right, guys, farmers markets. We're gonna be talking about it later. Hold tight. Like you turn on cable news and usually they're just like, coming up next, a man murdered his whole family and then left a trail of debris. Was it on purpose or some crazy cliffhanger like that? Here it's just me like, we're gonna be talking about farmers markets later. Stay tuned. You're gonna want to hear this. We got some farmers market chat. You're not going to want to miss the farmers market chat. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be fun. Hope you're all well. Hope things are going great. By the way, I tweeted this out. We'll do something for Music Monday first here. Oh, hi, Lucy. Hi, Luce. There we go. All right. Good to see you. All right. Can you move your foot off the keyboard? There we go. There we go. There you go. Here, you can sit right there. You can, here. There you go. Yeah, there you go. That's a good spot. That's a good spot for you. All right, so I tweeted this out. Let me go ahead and find this tweet to display for you guys. Let me go ahead and find it. I think this is what I'm looking for. Oh, she's drinking my water. Lucy, don't you have your own water? Why are you drinking mine? By the way, I'm probably going to drink this water too. I mean, it's just, dude, when you have a cat, you just don't care about stuff like that, really. Like, but she is drinking my water. That's what she's doing. I have a glass of water. She's totally drinking. Oh, you can't see it, but yeah, she's totally just going after the water. You have your own water. I know that for a fact. Unless of course no, she has water. I checked it. When I fed her this morning, I checked her water. I always do. You have water, Lucy. Yours is no better or worse than mine. But anyway, check this out. I tweeted this. I need some new music to get into. What's some stuff I should be listening to? Would prefer newer stuff that's happening now, but open to anything. And guys, I am proud to report on this Music Monday, I got about 500 responses from you, which thank you so much. And if you sent me some music, thank you so much for doing that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through as many of them as I possibly can. And that's going to be the song of the day from now on. I'm going to be going through this thread for song of the day. So if you didn't respond to this thread and you want to, go ahead and find it on Twitter. That's the tweet. I pumped it out. What's the date on this? April 15th is when I pumped out this tweet. And I'll be going through that thread and I'll be grabbing songs of the day from it. And so here's the first one. I want to share this. So this is from my illustrator, Chris. Chris is the illustrator I am in partnership with. He illustrates the Lucy and Ron comic. LucyandRon.com for that comic, where you see Lucy and myself doing our shenanigans. LucyandRon.com. Look, we're all quarantined. You probably need something new to read. How about a new webcomic between a dude and his cat? What could be better than that? LucyandRon.com. We just published our 54th issue, and we publish them every Catterday, aka Saturday. So yeah, check that out. But he recommends this band. Check this out. Jane Lee Hooker, which right away, I love the name. Jane Lee Hooker. And the song of the day, I'm not going to play it because we can't play stuff, but Be My Baby is the song of the day by Jane Lee Hooker. And what's convenient here is you can get it right at their website, janeleehooker.com. They're a blues rock outfit, and I really dug the track. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of like Rolling Stones kind of blues rock, like a twangy blues, with kind of distorted guitars and good melodies. Singer's got great pipes, and it's a female fronted group. Jane Lee Hooker, super cool name. They're out of New York City, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed this track. If you want some just solid, straight ahead, good blues rock, I highly recommend them. And the song of the day is "Be My Baby" by Jane Lee Hooker. So that was the first response to the thread. That was the first response to that thread, and I'll be going through a bunch of them to do song of the day. So song of the day is going to be set for like a decade. We're going to have song of the day for because there's 500 responses. So that's well over a year. I mean, if I did 365 shows a year, which I don't, we don't do shows every single day of the year, obviously, but so I don't know how many we do exactly. I mean, because sometimes we miss weekdays if I'm on the road and what have you. I mean, typically it's Monday through Thursday, but sometimes we do a show on Friday. Sometimes we do something random. You get the idea. But yeah, we're going to have songs of the day for like a long time. And of course, the song of the day is only on the full stream. You get the idea. All right. So anyway, that's the song of the day. Facebook. Facebook is in the news. So first, let's start with what's going on in the world at large. So this has been going on, and wait, where's that article that I need? Okay. Well, I don't have something I wanted, which is a bummer. I am missing something that I wanted. Let me go track it down. Give me 1 second here. Here, I should be able to get it. Or maybe not. That's a really big bummer. Okay, here we go. Yes, there we go. I got it. All right. Sorry about that. So this is what's going on in the world. Protest against lockdown in Texas, California, and 7 other states as calls to end stay-at-home orders grow. All right, so there's been these protests going on, and it's people protesting, quote unquote, protesting to open up the country again. And this is tyranny. And most of them are just Trump rallies too. Like most of them are just, Trump rallies, people supporting Trump. So here's what the Newsweek article says. Protests against statewide lockdowns and stay-at-home orders have been taking place over the last week, with demonstrations in 9 states yesterday. California, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Montana, Washington, Tennessee, and Illinois all saw protesters gather in large numbers, many not practicing social distancing or following government guidelines intended to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, demanding that the governors reopen their states. Despite contradicting government guidelines, President Trump has called the protesters very responsible and has said that some governors have gone too far with their stay-at-home orders. Trump also tweeted, "Liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota, liberate Virginia, and save your great Second Amendment. It is under siege." By the way, no one's coming after your guns. All right. It's not going to happen. No one in government is going to touch your guns. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to take it from me. Just take it from. No one's going to do anything. Republican, Democrat, we will never see a common sense weapons policy in this country. We're just not. We're not going to see it. You're never going to see it. At least not in my lifetime. Maybe someday. But I have zero confidence. And I hope so bad I'm wrong. I hope so bad that we do get a common sense gun policy in this country so that school shootings don't happen every other day. But I have zero confidence we ever will. Why do you have zero confidence we ever will, Ron? Because they're shooting our children and no one has done anything. That's why. And boy, do I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong so bad. But if someone was like, do you have any confidence? No, I don't. If you want me to lie to you, I could do that. But why should I? I'm being honest. I have zero confidence that we will ever see anything change. And when it comes to gun policy in this country, zero confidence. And it saddens me to say that. I don't like that I feel that way. But the NRA has a complete stranglehold on all of our politicians. And I just don't see it ever changing. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong. Sincerely hope I'm wrong. But, if someone said, what's one thing? I believe that someday we could live in a country where we have media policy that would make something like CNN illegal. I believe that we could live in that country one day. Norway has policy like that, and I believe the United States can too. And that I'd live to see it, and we'd all live to see it. I believe that we can live in a country where we have an alternative to this money party duopoly. I really do believe that. I believe we can do something about climate change and reverse the course, or at least, ease the course, so to speak. I mean, we're not going to, quote, stop climate change. It doesn't work that way, but we can, adapt and do better. I really do believe that. I believe that we can bring a lot of goodness in our communities. I really do believe that. But as far as the stranglehold the NRA has, as far as ever getting a common sense gun policy in this country, I don't think I'll see that in my lifetime. I suppose I shouldn't say it'll never happen, but I don't think in my lifetime it will. I think we're probably about 100 years away from something like that. That's one area where I just have zero confidence. Because when you see, anyway, I don't know what got me on that spiel. Probably because Trump's talking about the Second Amendment. It's in trouble. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong on that one. I desperately want to be wrong there. Even though some states, including Texas and Montana, are planning on lifting or loosening restrictions this week, some residents took to their state capitals to protest what they see too slow a process and reopening their state economies, or as a loss of their constitutional rights. No, see, we're doing what you have to do during a pandemic. Your protest should not be to reopen the economy and to do something irresponsible that's going to make people sick. The protest should be our government, our federal government, should be doing a better job handling this pandemic and actually helping people instead of giving trillions to the banks with no strings attached. We have the money. We have the money to give everybody a decent UBI so that we can get through this. But government doesn't want to. Your Congress and your federal government, Democrats and Republicans alike, just handed the banks trillions and then went on vacation. And they said, hey, banks, take care of it. And what happened? A bunch of people didn't get those PPP loans, but the banks don't have to answer to anybody. This is beyond obscene. Beyond obscene. So your protest is not to the governors to reopen the economy and to tell the medical community to go pound sand and to tell the science community to go pound sand. Your protest is protesting that the government doesn't do better on this for the people. That's the protest. And by the way, some of those protests are going on. It's really interesting that you'll hear the corporate media report on this stuff. They'll report on the protests to reopen, the Liberate protests, which are basically just Trump rallies. They'll report on those. But they won't report on other things that are going on in regards to canceling rent, in regards to a general strike. Because let me tell you something, that's going on too. In fact, here's something from my very own YouTube channel. You don't see stuff like this covered in Newsweek, do you? But here's something. Oh, wait, is this from my? Oh, yeah, this is an ad. But here, we don't need the sound for this, so I'm going to turn the sound off. But check this out. This was taken from the tenants union protest yesterday. You were encouraged to protest from your car to practice social distancing. So the people outside are some of the organizers of the protest, and everyone else is inside of their car. So we followed the instructions to social distance. And this protest is going on right now, too. And you don't hear the media talking about that, first of all. But so keep in mind that there are two different types of protests going on right now. One is protesting the inaction of our leadership in Washington and the giveaway to the banks, and is calling for a rent strike, and is calling for a general strike, and is calling for no vacancies, and is calling for unethical landlords to be held accountable. That's what this strike is doing. The strike I attended yesterday, that's what this strike is doing. But you don't hear about those strikes, do you? No, the only strikes you hear about are the other kind. I disappeared. Did you see that? That was that was amazing, wasn't it? Oh, did you see how I did that? It's crazy. I'm having a case of the Mondays, I feel like. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna try to fix this in real time. Okay, there we go. You don't hear about those strikes. You hear about these strikes. Or excuse me, these protests. These are the protests you hear about. You don't hear about the protests calling for a rent strike, calling for a general strike, calling for no vacancies. You hear about these protests. You hear about the protests saying reopen the economy, pro-Trump. That's what you hear about. Why? Because the media wants you to liken those two together. I even got it. There were people on my Instagram and my Twitter that when I was tweeting out stuff from the protests that I attended, which was organized by the LA Tenants Union and other groups, Sunrise Movement was there, calling for a rent strike, calling for no vacancies, calling for unethical landlords to be held accountable. People were saying, "Oh, why are you at that pro-Trump thing? Why are you at that?" There were people who didn't realize that that wasn't the type of protest I was going to. They thought they were the same protest. And now, here's where it also gets a little muddy. My editor Joe shares this with me. Facebook, the one and only, is getting involved, which, what can go wrong when Facebook gets involved, really? Zuckerberg, some stay at home protest organized on Facebook could qualify as harmful information. Okay, here we go. All right. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg on Monday told ABC's George Stephanopoulos that protest of stay-at-home orders that violate state social distancing rules organized through his social media platform qualify as harmful misinformation and will be taken down. How do you deal with the fact that Facebook is now being used to organize a lot of these protests to defy social distancing guidelines in states? The Good Morning America anchor asked Zuckerberg. If somebody is trying to organize something like that, does that qualify as harmful misinformation? Here's what Zuckerberg said. We do classify that as harmful misinformation, and we take that down. Now, here's the problem once again. Look, I don't agree. I strongly disagree with the protests that are going on to, quote, reopen America. I think some of the people that protest, it's just a pro-Trump protest. For a lot of people, it's basically just a Trump rally. And for other people, I think they are feeling desperate, and I just think they are misdirected. There's a lot of people there that are just saying, I want to get my hair cut. Liberty. But then there's other people that I think they're there because they are desperate. But your protest should not be to reopen the economy and risk more people dying. Your protest should be against the government and against the leadership and against the banks for not handling this properly, and for calling on them to handle it properly, calling on them to freeze rent, to freeze mortgages, to give people an emergency UBI. We got the money for that many times over because they just handed trillions to the banks. If they can hand trillions to the banks, they can give people what people need to survive during this pandemic. Other countries are doing it. There's a UBI in Canada. I know there's a process to get it. It's not perfect, but there's still a UBI most people have access to. In England, they're covering most people's wages. Other countries are doing significantly better than one-time payment USA, baby. So while I strongly disagree with those protests, the protest that I do agree with is like the one I showed up yesterday to, the protest to protest rent, to call for a rent strike, to call for no vacancies, to call for unethical landlords being held accountable. And the problem is that Facebook might cancel these types of protests as well. They might also cancel these types of protests. The LA tenant unions protest. There's an ad. That's so ridiculous. It's so annoying. They'll protest stuff like this too. They won't just protest, or excuse me, they won't just take down the protest to end the stay-at-home order. They'll take down stuff like this too. This is why you shouldn't have Facebook determining what is and isn't free speech. You shouldn't have Facebook determining. And again, they shouldn't be able to take anything down unless it blatantly violates free speech laws. And this is why. Because it's like, yeah, well, these protests are dangerous. I get that. Yeah, but here's the thing. They'll do stuff like this too. They'll do stuff like this too. Now, I do think that all protests, whatever your cause is, whether I agree with it or not, should practice social distancing. I do feel that way. People should have masks on. People should be in their cars when possible. If you're not an organizer of the protest, be in your car. I am for that. I stayed in my car this entire protest. You see people social distancing in this video. When people marched, they were staying apart from each other. I'm for all that. And, in a protest like this, people are more likely to social distance than in a protest where people are against the concept. So I get it. But yeah, the problem is Facebook has no qualifications to determine what is and isn't a safe protest or a not safe protest. They just have no qualifications to determine any of that. But they're going to anyway, once again. And I guarantee you, Facebook will not help the situation one way or another. They just won't. Facebook just won't. They just won't. All right. Joe Biden put out a new ad. And, oh boy. It's incredible. It's almost like it's a big, and I had this Twitter exchange with a buddy of mine. It's almost like it's a high concept art piece of everything you shouldn't do in a political ad, especially against somebody like Donald Trump, a guy who just, there's a million things you could criticize Trump on. There's a million things. As far as this pandemic, even the fact that he doesn't listen to the medical community at all, that he doesn't listen, he'll just repeat stuff. He'll make these claims based on absolutely nothing. It's unreal. It's obvious to anyone. He has no clue what's going on. He just has no clue. It'd be so easy to pick apart his response to this thing. But here's what the Joe Biden campaign has selected right here. Here's what Joe Biden and his campaign have selected to single out about Trump in this ridiculous ad. You ready for this? Here it goes.
He failed to act. So now Trump and his allies are launching negative attacks against Joe Biden to hide the truth. Here are the facts. Joe Biden warned the nation in January that Trump had left us unprepared for a pandemic. Then Biden told Trump he should insist on having American health experts on the ground in China.
I would be on the phone with China and making it clear, we are going to need to be in your country. You have to be open. You have to be clear. We have to know what's going on.
But Trump rolled over for the Chinese. He took their word for it.
The president tweeted, China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency.
China, I spoke with President Xi, and they're working very, very hard. and I think it's going to all work out fine.
Trump praised the Chinese 15 times in January and February as the coronavirus spread across the world.
It's a tough situation. I think they're doing a very good job.
Are you concerned about its potential impact on the global economy?
I think that China will do a very good job.
Trump never got a CDC team on the ground in China. And the travel ban he brags about? Trump let in 40,000 travelers from China into America after he signed it. Not exactly airtight. Look around. 22 million Americans are out of work, and we have more officially reported cases and deaths than any other country. Donald Trump left this country unprepared and unprotected for the worst public health and economic crisis in our lifetime. And now we're paying the price. All the negative ads in the world can't change the truth.
You know what's crazy? They also don't really have one of those "I'm Joe Biden, I approve this message" thing. They don't even have one of those. So that's the route Joe Biden took, that he let some people in from China. Although, you know, when he was talking about the travel ban, everyone said it was bigoted because, you know, it was. So they're actually attacking him about China from the right. And there's a way you could criticize what the president has done, what President Xi has done. There's a way you could say, okay, so here we would have been more aware of what was going on, so we would have acted sooner and done preemptive measures in our own country. But instead, this is just a bigoted attack on the Chinese. That's what this Biden ad is. It's just a bigoted attack on the Chinese people. And they single out these sound bites where Trump is saying, yeah, China's trying. They're trying to do a good job. This is what you got? This is what you point to. If you wanted to make a specific ad about how Donald Trump has screwed up handling the coronavirus, that's the best you can come up with. Attacking him from the right on China. And you know why this is? You know why this ad came about? It's because the Biden campaign, just like the Clinton campaign, believes in this fairy tale that there's all these white moderates flying around Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan and Illinois. And they're all flying around and they determine elections. And they're going to be inspired by this. They're going to say, yes, that's right. That's right. He was too nice to the Chinese. Donald Trump, you know, that guy who's really known for his cultural understanding. Donald Trump. That's what's going to happen. And then they're going to go out and they're going to vote for Joe Biden. And then Joe Biden's going to win. Joe Biden's going to win because, remember, that worked swimmingly. That worked swimmingly in 2016. You can find the footage of Chuck Schumer saying, you know, for every person that will lose in the cities, we're going to gain some moderate Republicans in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois. That's what Chuck Schumer said in 2016 about the Hillary Clinton campaign. You know, a phrase that no one has ever said before? Hey, 1 out of 4 ain't bad. No one's ever said that before because it's not true. 1 out of 4 is a really shitty score. If you get that on a test, you fail. That's 25%. Now, if you're playing baseball, that's not bad. You go 1 for 4. That's actually a pretty good batting average. But that's a different scenario. Politics is not baseball and vice versa. And that's not a good ratio. That's not a good ratio in other circumstances. And I really don't know anything about baseball, really. But I do know if you go 1 for 4 your career, that's not half bad. It's pretty good. I do know that. How good? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if that's like, is that like all-star level? I don't know. It might be. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But and you know, apparently they're having talks about how to get baseball and hockey started back up. I'm a hockey guy, so you know, if they can find a way to do it safely, I would like that. It'd be nice to be able to watch some hockey. But you know, obviously I'm only for it if they can do it absolutely 100% safely. But I hope they do that. And I hope they don't just give the cup away to the team with the most points. They might do that. I think that'd be pretty lame. And my wife and I sometimes debate this because the team with the most points right now is the Boston Bruins. She is from Massachusetts. She is a Boston Bruins fan. I'm not. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins guy because that's where I'm from. And I was like, well, I think that the season should be played out, if not now, later. And the cup just doesn't go anywhere until they can get that sorted out. That's what I think. And I'd like to think that I would still feel that way, even if the Penguins had the most points and they were going to, I mean, that's, hey, you got the most points. The season's not over, but here's a cup. Come on. We don't want to do that. That's a lame idea. Not as lame as this Biden ad. Not near as lame as this Biden ad. I mean, just think of all the things you could criticize Donald Trump for. Think of all the things you could criticize Donald Trump for. But you know what? It's kind of hard for the Biden campaign to criticize Donald Trump on a lot of stuff because Biden was fine with a lot of it. He passively accepted a lot of it. There was no real resistance. Can you really get on Trump for the judges that Democrats helped fast track? Can you really get on Trump for the new NAFTA that most of the Democrats went along with too? Can you really get on Trump with cutting food stamps from people when no one ever talked about it because the impeachment charade was going on? Can you really get on Trump for his anti-healthcare plan when all you're doing is planning on continuing the status quo? And by the way, that anti-healthcare plan's in the distant mirror now because it hasn't been proposed again. Can you really get on Trump for not acting on the environment when your plan was relevant in 1986? And they don't want to go after any of those things. Joe Biden doesn't want to make any concessions to any progressives in this country, despite what he says on Twitter. Joe Biden, hey, everybody who's on the left, everybody who supported Bernie, I know they're out there, and I know you're out there, and I hear you, and I want to earn your vote. Really, Joe? When did I or anyone else ever say, hey, just lower the Medicare age to 60 and we're cool? When has anyone ever said that, Biden? I don't think anyone has. I don't think anyone has ever uttered that, Joe Biden. I don't think that's happened. It's like they're trying to lose. Like, this really is. I mean, we have one party. It's the money party. And again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. And this ad proves it. This is almost an art piece on how to make sure you lose to one of the biggest laughing stocks ever in the history of politics. I mean, it's unbelievable. You listen to Trump speak, and this is idiocracy being played out. And the opposition just completely ineffective. In fact, let me find the tweet I put. Should we talk about how he ignored medicine, how he ignored science? No, let's just make a bigoted ad about China. Oh, okay, cool. Good call. Now we're cooking. Good job, Biden campaign. It's unbelievable. And you know why this is at the end of the day? Because, guys, the Democrats already won the 2020 election. Because their agenda was make sure somebody who upsets the status quo stays as far away from the White House as possible. They accomplished that goal. The nominee is going to be Joe Biden. The number one goal, stopping progressives. The number two goal, making sure the donors are happy. The number three goal, if we beat a Republican in the interim, that's great. That's cool if we beat a Republican. It makes us look good. But if we don't, the gravy train keeps a rolling. They don't care. They don't care if they beat Trump or not. Oh, they care, Ron. They care. Do they? Do they? Well, think about the Supreme Court. They care about the Supreme Court. Oh, really? They do? Then why did Barack Obama roll over and not stand up for a pick that was rightfully his? Why didn't he do that? If they care about the Supreme Court so much. Why didn't he do that? Because he was being polite? Really? Really? Someone told me that once, by the way. Someone actually said that. They were serious. I was just like, why did Obama just roll over and not stand up for a Supreme Court pick that was rightfully his? Why didn't he do that? And they were like, well, don't you think he was just trying to be polite? And I was like, are you serious? You're serious. You believe that? Okay. Okay. I mean, wow. It's unbelievable. That's the best they could come up with. And it's because they think these voters are out there and they're not really concerned with forming an actual coalition that would beat Trump. Because they know if you actually have ideas that'll help people's lives, that you could beat Trump. People want to hear solutions for their lives. And if you had a solution to deal with wealth inequality, to deal with healthcare, especially in a pandemic, where now more than ever, progressive policies, people are seeing the need for them. People are seeing the destruction capitalism causes. It's coming to roost. It is here. And now more than ever, true solutions to reinvest our economy, to start taking a green approach to combat climate change, which comes with jobs, to put the people front and center instead of profits that only benefit a few. Now more than ever, that is apparent. But the donors wouldn't be happy if you did that. The donors wouldn't be happy if you did that. So instead, you have these ridiculous ads trying to appeal to a demographic that is small or non-existent. Are there a handful of never Trump Republicans out there? Yeah, and those people are either going to vote for Joe Biden or they're not going to vote. And it's a small sect. And most of the GOP just walks hook, line, and sinker with whoever the nominee is. And now Trump is the face of the GOP. Politically, Trump is no different than the GOP. He just talks meaner. That's it. And most GOP members realize that. They're like, yeah, this guy talks like kind of a jerk, but he's down with all the stuff I'm down with. What's the big deal? I'm going to vote for him. Why should I vote for Joe Biden? Why would I vote for Joe Biden? Especially since he says his share of dumb, bigoted things too. Oh, and by the way, he was a segregationist. So yeah, it's the same strategy Hillary Clinton employed in 2016. It lost then. It'll lose again. Joe Biden. Blue no matter who, this is what it gets you. This is what it gets you. It gets you a wrestling match. It gets you a wrestling match because that's what this is. The 2020 election ended for the Democratic establishment the day Bernie Sanders announced he was suspending his campaign. It ended for them because their main agenda, stop progressives. Second agenda, make sure the donors are happy. Third agenda, if we beat a Republican, great. If not, main agenda, we've already taken care of. And by the way, things are a little harder this time around for third parties. Here's something that's going on. This is from Politico. Will the pandemic keep third parties off the 2020 ballot? Social distancing makes it harder to get petition signatures, and for the Libertarians and Green Party, that's an existential crisis. So it may be harder for third parties to be on the ballot this time around because of social distancing, because people can't gather the signatures in person. All right, so the pandemic may have robbed Donald Trump of a growing economy. This is according to the article. It may have trapped Joe Biden in his basement. I'm sure Joe Biden has no problem being there. And I'm sure his campaign has no problems with him being there. Why? Because Joe Biden is incapable of raising his poll numbers. The more Joe Biden talks, the less people like him. Why? Because he says stuff like telling a Latino activist who's concerned for their loved ones to go vote for Trump. He says stuff like telling a climate activist to go pound sand and go vote for Trump, or Bernie's their guy, or whatever else. He can't handle the smallest of criticisms. He goes spastic and goes ape on people, which, who told you you're meant for a career in politics? If you can't handle a question from people, if you can't handle criticisms, and you just lash out at people. He called a guy fat. He can't complete a sentence. He can't do anything without a teleprompter. He needs to have his wife with him at all times, and he might get confused and think it's his sister. And by the way, I have a new theory that the reason she's always next to him is in case anyone needs to say seesaw motor functions at any point. And don't give away any spoilers. I have not started season 3 yet for anyone who watches Westworld. But here's what's going on. It may do something even worse to the Libertarian Green Party nominees. It might keep them off the ballot. So in 2016, the Libertarian Party was on the general election ballot in all 50 states. This year, it's only in 35 right now. Similarly, the Green Party in 2016 was in 44 states. Right now, it's only in 22. And what's going on is that you need to collect the signatures in person, and you can't do that right now. So several of the elusive ballot lines are in states that in 2016 were either narrowly won or flipped from red to blue. At present, neither the Libertarian Party nor the Green Party has qualified for the ballot in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, blah, 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 blah. So to get on the ballot in the remaining states, they need to collect and submit petition signatures. And in a normal year, they would be on track to do just that. But because of the deadly coronavirus and the social distancing and stay-at-home orders to minimize its spread, after March 6th, petitioning was over in the United States, as Libertarian Party Executive Director Daniel Fishman told the author of this article. So for America's third party, this is nothing less than an existential crisis. Without ballot access, national pollsters won't feel obligated to include Green and Libertarian candidates in their surveys. Voters will be less aware of their nominees and platforms. Journalists will be less likely to pay any attention to them. And the probability diminishes that either the Libertarians or Greens can reach the holy grail of 5% of the popular vote, the point at which they would finally qualify for federal campaign matching funds. And that's really what you need. That's really what you need. You need to get to that 5%. So the solution here is to change the rules amidst the pandemic so that somehow these signatures can be gained, can be accumulated online via some other means than going in person and getting them in person. Right now, that's the rule, that these need to be physical signatures. But we're in unprecedented times. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I get it, why you would need that. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting that when it comes to our voting systems, we take no precaution whatsoever. I mean, here in California, the voting machines that they use had every red flag. Every study that had been done on them, they displayed every single red flag. Yet they were used anyway. There is no paper trail. There is no documentation. It does not exist. So when it comes to election integrity, paper trail be damned. We don't care. We're not going to have a law that says we have to do paper ballots. There's proposals out there, but no one's taking that seriously. We don't care. But when it comes to a non-corporate party, be it the Libertarians, the Greens, whoever else, when it comes to a non-corporate party getting on the ballot, well, then all of a sudden we need a paper trail for transparency. Then all of a sudden, and I think in both cases, transparency is important. Don't get me wrong. But it's really interesting, the selective transparency demands that our system has. When it comes to marginalized parties, non-corporate parties trying to buck the two-party duopoly, we need to be really thorough there, and we need a paper trail. But when it comes to just voting in an election, whatever. And if a bunch of exit polls don't match up, oh well, bedelba. If it turns out an app is flipping votes, oh well, bedelba. It's interesting. Very interesting. And in this case, interesting is code for corrupt all hell. All right, let's see what else is. So let's see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, so that's basically what's going on. So they should change the rules and figure out a way to accommodate this so that the signatures can still be gathered via a different process because of the pandemic we're in. Will that happen? There's a good chance it probably won't. Because who would need to institute this rule? The duopoly. And the Republicans and the Democrats, they like the duopoly they got. They like it. They don't want other parties involved. That's why they make it so hard. That's why these rules are there in the first place. That's why we care more about, having transparency for a third party to get on the ballot than we do about our election integrity. We need a paper trail when it comes to getting on the ballot, but not when it comes to your vote. Interesting, isn't it? And that's why all the rules stifle third parties. It's set up that way. Because the Republicans and the Democrats, they like their little duopoly. Because it pleases the donors. It pleases the people who write them the check. And the Overton window, which is the acceptable, the common political stances you see amidst the public sphere, it just keeps going further and further to the right. It keeps going further and further to the right. And when you do blue no matter who, you help that right along. You help that right along. I used to say, what's it going to take? Is it going to get to the point where a Democrat looks like Donald Trump and a Republican is an actual Nazi? Guess what, guys? Members of the American Nazi Party, open Nazis, have run in several states, Illinois being one of them, as Republicans. They've run. Open Nazis have run already. And as far as a Republican looking like Donald Trump, as far as a Democrat looking like Donald Trump, Mike Bloomberg's a Democrat. Explain to me how he's different than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has a racist past. So does Mike Bloomberg. He's stop and frisk architect. Big business mogul. So is Mike Bloomberg. Straight up oligarch. So is Mike Bloomberg. Interesting, huh? We're already there. We're already there. So this article doesn't really have a call to action, but if this is of concern to you, I think that, let me see if they have, I think the best thing you can do is to, reach out to the parties themselves, be it the Green or the Libertarians, wherever your leanings are. It's, and see what you can do. I'd imagine that both the Green and Libertarian parties are addressing this and trying to figure out a solution for this, which to me, the obvious solution is, try to find a way to gather these signatures in an alternative measure that doesn't involve, in-person contact, be it, maybe it's going to be something via the mail. Maybe it's going to be something online that, is very secure. I don't know exactly how they go about it, but I feel like there's got to be something to present an alternative so that marginalized parties can get on the ballot. But of course, two-party duopoly doesn't want that to happen. So they'll probably do everything they can to stop that. All right. So that's going on today. Man, sorry about the tech glitch earlier. I closed out of the wrong window and it just took me off of the stream. And I was like, oh, crap, I think the show's over. And then I realized, I saw the little thing in the corner that it's like, oh, wait, no, I'm still live. I'm just not there. So sorry about that. I'm having a case of the Mondays, like they say in Office Space. Having a case of the Mondays. So I apologize for that. And I appreciate your guys' I really appreciate your guys' patience with me. And yeah, sorry about that. By the way, Grandma and I are doing another Zoom show this Saturday. We're doing them every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Zoom. Grab your tickets now because tickets are limited. Space is limited on Zoom, so we only have so many tickets available. It's open to everybody on the internet, and it's $5. So for $5, you get a Zoom link delivered to your inbox shortly before the show starts. And we have a good time. Last show was a lot of fun. They've been a lot of fun. It's, it's basically like a live comedy show, but via Zoom. It's not quite the same as being in a nightclub in front of y'all, and we miss touring desperately, and it hurts our hearts not being able to tour. I miss it so bad, you guys, and I know I complain about it a lot, and I'm sorry, but man, we're all venting, aren't we? And boy, it hurts. Not being able to tour hurts so bad. So these Zoom shows have been like therapy for me. It's an outlet. It's really important to us. So this Saturday, it's going on. You can get tickets at my website, romplacone.com. Romplacone.com. Grab your tickets now and do it in advance before it sells out. Also, if you are on stable financial ground and are interested in April, patreon.com/romplacone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content. You get videos. You get a patrons-only stream once a week where I respond directly to the patrons, and the replay is only available on Patreon. And I'm talking about Zoom shows. I do a patron Zoom show once a week, too, And that's a show that's totally free for patrons. I drop the link in Patreon, and I do a show just for the patrons once a week. And that's been a blast. I think I'm going to continue doing that even after this quarantine is over. I started doing it for the quarantine, but I think I'm going to continue it even after the quarantine's over. So patreon.com/Ron Placone if you are so able. Anna Bird retired. What's up, Anna Bird? Hope retirement's treating you groovy. It's an unfunded mandate, like every other unfunded mandate, where government demands we stay at home, but doesn't ensure financial infrastructure to achieve it. I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, that is true. It's, and I am pro quarantine. Well, I'm not pro quarantine. I mean, it sucks, but you know what I mean. I do think it's important that we do this, and it's essential that we do this. But it's terrible that the government is not taking care of the people the way it needs to in a situation like this. But I think the protest is not to reopen things. That's not the protest. The protest is protesting our government to do the right thing for the people. But I feel you. Enjoyed. Robert, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, Robert. Enjoying listening while putting wood flooring in my bedroom. MSNBC coverage of Trump, quote unquote, protest was driving me crazy. Yeah, I hear you. And I'm sure they didn't talk about any of the rent strikes. I'm sure they didn't talk about that. They talk about the reopening. By the way, there's a couple things that I need to get to. Mr. Garibaldi, I missed your super chat the other day. Great interview, Ron. Love it. Thank you, Mr. Garibaldi. I appreciate that very much. And I'm sorry I didn't get to your super chat when you first published it the other day. I think the interview, you were referring to the Shahid Buttar interview. We had Shahid Buttar to talk about digital rights on Thursday. That was a really fun chat. He's incredibly knowledgeable in that field. I love talking to him about it. So thank you for that, Mr. Garibaldi. And sorry I didn't get to it in real time, but it was one of those things that didn't show up until after the show had dismounted. And I have a couple other. Oh, Paziamores. What's up, Paziamores? Paziamores want to know, how did you name Lucy? So I actually didn't name Lucy. She's on my lap right now. For anyone that's new to this show, Lucy's my cat. She's on my lap. She's on my nap. She's on my lap. She's going to take a nap. But I did not name Lucy. My old roommate in college named Lucy. And there's not really a cool story there. I mean, I got Lucy in college. I was living with my two buddies, who I'm still friends with to this day. And my buddy Patrick just kind of thought she looked like and seemed like a Lucy. Just like, yeah, I think Lucy. And it fits her. So, yeah, that's how Lucy got her name. My roommate named her. But, yeah, thank you for that. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Sorry about the tech hiccups today. I apologize for that. What are you going to do? It happens sometimes. But I appreciate you guys' patience. I appreciate you bearing with me. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here. And until then, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.